beautiful Hilton Garden Inn, CH Craft Kitchen, and we're located, well, right next door to the KCAC, and the football field is not far away from us. Coach Paul Tortorella is with me once again. We have a special guest coming up here around the 6:30 mark, and we're so happy to be with you here as IUP starts off the season with a record of 2-0, coming away with a win over Shippensburg, 44-21. Maybe you were there. We had pretty good representation from the Indiana community, backing the Crimson Hawks on Saturday on a very, very warm day. Coach, if I were to say, if I were out of town and I didn't, know what IUP did, and I looked at the stats, 44 points, all that yardage and everything else, I think this is a pretty easy, pretty nice win, and so on. But the coach wasn't really satisfied, were you? When you looked at the video, did it get any better?
Well, I was just upset with, the undisciplined penalties, couple turnovers in the second half, couple pass interference. They're all good calls. Couple pass interference calls where we're just grabbing guys instead of covering like we're supposed to. Got beat deep again on a touchdown throw. Shot ourselves in the foot with penalties on offense. I mean, they never really stopped us. The only time we got stopped is when we had a major penalty and didn't convert in the red zone twice in short yardage. Down on the 1, we got to run it in. And then we had 3rd and 1 on their 15 before the half, and then 4th and 1 on the 15 before the half, and didn't make the first down. So, looking at the game, statistically, I mean, they're all stat-wise, it's crazy. But, we had 12 penalties, and really 5 of them were undisciplined. The other penalties are, it's football. We got called for holding a couple times, but we just undisciplined penalties where we're grabbing guys instead of covering them like we're supposed to. We got a penalty late in the game on their sideline, tackling a guy out of bounds. It was probably a sideline call, but they still called it, and it led to them scoring near the end of the game.
I think that was on our side, the press box side.
Right. It was on Shippensburg's sideline. Yeah. But it was unnecessary, and when you get in close games, if you think you're going to get away with that, I think we said we had 5 undisciplined penalties that was 55 yards. So if you take them out of it, you have 7 penalties for like 50 or 60 yards. That's pretty basic in a football game. And then the short yardage offensively, and then the 2 turnovers. I think we'd like to have the play back. Obviously, Mac down on the goal line. But, we're running out the clock late in the game, and we fumble the ball. We're trying to run out the clock, get 2.5, 3 minutes off the clock. We're going to run it 3 times. And if we don't make the first down, we're going to punt. We can't be giving the team the ball on our 40-yard line. So just little things like that turn into big things down the road. I thought, we got to get those things cleaned up. And just inconsistent. Like I think I said after the game, 40 minutes of the game, we probably played as good as you could play. But there was probably a 10-minute swing in the third quarter and near the end of the half and a little bit swing a couple series in the fourth quarter. We weren't very – now, I'm not saying we're going to go out there and play perfect for 60 minutes, but we got to have a consistent – execution somewhat for 60 minutes instead of a roller coaster. And it's kind of happened 2 games in a row now for us.
A lot of coaches will say when they check from first game to second game improvements. Was there improvement?
Oh, there was tremendous improvement. What helped, too, is we had 2 starters on defense play that didn't play against East Stroudsburg.
And that made a difference.
And, against East Stroudsburg, Hauser got hurt, was out of the game. He came in and had 1 run for a touchdown, and he tweaked his hamstring. We had Dozier Stewart back, our number 1 running back. He didn't play against East Stroudsburg. So we were somewhat back to full go. Carter didn't play. He was injured. But we played much better Saturday than we did the first game at East Stroudsburg. Now, the other thing is East Stroudsburg, I think, is going to surprise some people. They're a pretty good team, especially offensively. I know last week they had probably a brutal trip to Seton Hill like we had to East Stroudsburg, and
Right.
I think they won 30-7. I mean, they put it to Seton Hill. So I think Strasburg, to be honest with you, is going to be fighting for that like third, fourth spot in the Eastern Conference. So, that's where we're at. We did get better, but we got a lot of things to clean up.
It was really good to see that DeJour Stewart was back in. He had an 83-yarder called back.
Right.
Beautiful run. Was it by his design or the coach's design to lose 30 pounds?
A little bit of both. We wanted him to trim down a little bit, and he took it to
the max.
And we didn't want him to lose his power, which he's got his acceleration. He made a run Saturday where he made 2 cuts, put his foot in the ground one way. And, I mean, he had some runs Saturday that were big time. The touchdown, we get called on like if that would have happened 3 years ago, that's not a penalty. We came in and we cracked the safety with the Sam linebacker with our wide receiver. And now that's a penalty because it's a blindside hit. So kind of what we have to do is like in basketball, you got to go in there and just put a pick on the guy and screen him like you do in basketball.
Freeze.
And it'll work out just like it does if you put him on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then DeJour ran through 2 tackles after we had the crack and went 80 yards. So we lost 80 yards on one play on that penalty. And it was a penalty. You can't go down in there and hit the guy. Some people say, well, if you lead with your hands, you do this. Look, they're going to call that. Mm-hmm. If you go in there and hit the guy, you just got to go in there and screen him, basically. And then they won't call it. And the same thing gets done. You don't hit the guy and knock him on the ground, but he's not going to cross your face and get involved in the tackle. So we learned, that's a good lesson to learn.
Mm-hmm. You got off to a great start again, 28-0 this time. The pick and then the 99-yard return. Describe that whole play for us there.
Well, good that we did earlier at the end of the half. Then we got down there on the goal line and we had an inside run and we blocked it wrong. So we got hit for a yard loss. So now it was 3rd and goal on the 2. With a little sprint pick play. We run it a lot in practice against our defense. And actually we didn't block it. Like the problem was Mac couldn't get out on the perimeter because we didn't really block it very good when we sprinted. So there was a guy up on him in his face a lot sooner than we'd like. He would have had a little more time to expand it out, and if he would have thrown the ball to Hilton Ridley in the corner of the end zone, who was kind of setting the pick for Dwayne, because they both covered Dwayne. And Ridley went to the corner of the end zone like he's supposed to, and he was wide open. But Mac had to throw the ball too soon because we didn't secure the edge like we need to on sprint. Mm-hmm. So, and I mean, that's that kind of play. If you get the pick, the guy gets open, but both guys covered. So even though we kind of got the pick, the guy that was covering Ridley also covered Dwayne, and nobody covered Ridley. But we didn't have time to, him in the corner of the end zone's late, and we didn't have it protected good enough. So, obviously Max would like to have it back. And we'll do some things in short yardage. We'll take a look at some things and get better at short yardage where we'll run it in.
You had a couple of the younger guys in short yardage situation. Parker Gregg was in there and had some people. And you plan to keep on doing that?
Yeah.
Rotate. Of course, it was so hot.
Yeah, it was a hot day.
You had to have new, fresh legs in there.
We used Cotton Hauser, even though he went out after his touchdown. We used 5 running backs again. 5 running backs carried the ball. So that was good in regards to how hot it was. Mm-hmm. We used 7 wideouts, so we used every wideout we had on the trip, not only in special teams, but they played offensively.
Quite a bit, yeah.
We played 3 tight ends, and, the only place where we didn't play a lot of guys was in the offensive line until the fourth quarter, and then we put our second offensive line in later in the fourth quarter. And then defensively, we played a lot of players also. We played 8 D linemen, 4 linebackers, and 8 defensive backs. So we played a lot of players, because it was hot.
Oh, it was.
And we got a lot of guys on defensive play on a lot of the special teams. So we've got pretty good depth across the board except in the O-line. And but we're developing depth with young guys, which is good to get them in the game. And it's like at the end of the game, we could have took a knee 3 times, but we ran the ball because we got young guys in there, and we want to block it and run it with our young offensive line, our second group, and our down-the-line running backs who are young. I mean, we got all freshmen in there late in the game on offense. We pretty much got, except at tight end, we pretty much had all freshmen. Horn's a sophomore at quarterback, but most of the O-line are freshmen. And the one wideout's a sophomore. So we're you know, when we put that truly second offense in, they're all freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah. And they're, you know, the guys that have had good careers because, you stated way back when this was a pretty good recruiting class. Logan Horn got a chance to play, get in the varsity game. He's been around for a while. Tell us a little bit about him since he's been here, and most people probably don't even know who he is.
Well, he knows the offense very well. He's very smart. He's very intelligent. He'll be able to manage the offense. He's pretty athletic. He can scramble. He doesn't have an overly strong arm, but he's very accurate. So, like I tell him, you're 1 second away from playing. You know, it's just the fact of the matter.
It is.
You're 1 second away from playing. So he gets all the number 2 reps, and we even rep him a little bit later in the week with the ones. And he'll be very efficient if he's in there, and he's got to play when the bullets are flying, so to speak.
One of the things that we saw improvement was Nick Andrassi, who missed the first extra point in the very first of the game. And then he comes on, he makes 6 extra points.
Right.
His punt, which was downed at the 1, and then, of course, the ensuing safety by Randy Washington, that had a big turning point, the momentum.
Oh, it totally flipped the momentum. We come out for the second half. We're up 28-0. We have all the momentum. They hit the deep pass. We intercept the ball and run down to the 5-yard line, and we get called for pass interference, and it was. It was. So, like, instead of us going in and making it 35-0, we get called for pass interference, and then we get called for pass interference again on the drive, and they hit a deep ball for a touchdown. So now it's 28-7 instead of 35-0. Okay. Offensively, we do a good job. We take the kick. We go all the way down the field. We get down to the 1-yard line. We throw a pick. It goes 99 yards. So you talk about a total flipping momentum.
Oh, yeah.
Then we get the ball, and we make a couple first downs, and then they stop us on 3rd down, but we're at the 50, so we punt, and we down it on the 1-yard line. And then the very next play, Randy Washington makes a great play as the ball bounces outside, and he had to knock the running back. If the running back would have fell forward, he would have got out of the end zone. But he knocked him back into the end zone. It was a great play by Randy Washington. So we got the safety. Then we got the ball back, obviously, after the safety and went down and scored. And now it's 37-14 when it was 28-14, and 4 minutes later we're up 37-14. And it all revolves off a down and a punt on the 1-yard line.
And that was Jay Holmes, right?
Jay Holmes downed it. Ingram was down there too. You got to watch sometimes when you have 2 guys, they get in the way of each other. But they did a good job spreading out. And, I mean, we downed it on, like, the 2-inch line. So they were really backed up. And we called up a good run stunt on 1st down and made them bounce the ball outside to an unblocked defender who was our free safety. So it went like you draw it up, and they bounced it, and he was there unblocked. But he has to make a great tackle to keep the guy in the end zone, and he did.
Which he did.
Yes.
Yeah, he did. We're going to talk about special teams. That was a big part of the win. Don't forget, coming up, we've got Hall of Fame weekend. Coach pointed out just a little while ago before we went on that the team has played 4 consecutive road games. Going back to last year, the last 2 games and the first 2 games this year, and they've been playing, very well on the road. 4 o'clock kickoff for the Hall of Fame game coming up on Saturday against Mercyhurst. We'll be back with more Hawk Talk. We're coming to you live from the Hilton Garden Inn. Coach Tortorella with us, and we're going to have Coach Larry Wilson join us here in just a little while. Be back with you on U92Radio.com and Renda Digital TV.
Field's Craft Kitchen in the Hilton Garden Inn is this area's best-kept secret. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, dinner, happy hour, or for their post-game specials. Make your reservations for C.H. Field's Craft Kitchen in the Hilton Garden Inn at chfields.com. The Hilton Garden Inn is the preferred hotel of IUP Athletics. Located next to Miller Stadium and the KCAC, the Hilton Garden Inn is Indiana's newest and best hotel. Make your reservations today at HiltonGardenInn.com.
At IRMC, we have all of the necessary pieces in place to perform complex operations, including highly skilled and specially trained surgeons, their support team of experts, and advanced technology like the Da Vinci robotic surgical system. As a result, patients spend less time in the hospital, recover faster, and get treated close to home. So there's no reason to puzzle over where you should get your surgical care. The answer is right here at IRMC.
Welcome back, everybody. Jack Benedict with Coach Paul Tortorella, 2-0 for IUP, coming away with a 44-21 win over Shippensburg and getting ready for Hall of Fame weekend. We'll talk about that in just a little while. I alluded to special teams, and when you review that, it's such a big part. That might have been the number one thing,
right?
Because you had to hold Red Douglas down, and he wasn't even a factor in the game except one return, and was kind of academic at that point.
Yeah, we did a good job in our coverage, both punt and kickoff. We didn't get the ball kicked very well from our kickoff guy, and only the one return that came out, it went back across the field, and we lost contain to the field there. But we knocked the ball out the one time, and I don't know how we didn't recover it. We had three guys right there on the one kickoff coverage. But our coverage was good, can be better. We got to kick the ball better on kickoff. Kickoff return, their guy did a good job. He kicked 1-2 into the end zone that we couldn't run back. Then he did kick one out of bounds, which helped us. And so, our return, the one return we did have with Darius Bruce, the guy that we were double team beat us. If he doesn't beat us, it might go for a touchdown because everybody else had it blocked up. And then after the safety, Dwayne missed. He bounced it into the sideline, and we had it right up the hash. For some reason, he bounced it into the sideline. So we'd actually, because that was a great kick. They kicked off from the 20 after a safety, and instead of punting, they kicked it off, and he kicked the ball to the 25. I mean, it was a great kickoff. And like I said, Dwayne, who's not our number one, he's Carter and Taylor are number two. But we thought they may punt the ball, so we had to get guys back there who can catch punts. Dwayne, and we had Ridley back there who catches punts. So, but they did kick it off, and we didn't have time to make the change. And Dwayne he'd run back kicks if we let him. But he's not really been the guy back there. Carter and Taylor are the guys. Lockhart actually was a starter before he got hurt, so they know the return a lot better than Dwayne, and Dwayne he bounced it to our sideline, and it was right up the hash. So, but we got to get better. Our field goal kicker did a great job. He did a great job punting. Punt return, we were a little sloppy. Dwayne dropped the punt that we had to. Hauser had to recover. Was the wind
a factor on that or not?
A little bit. No. When obviously, when he was punting downwind, he was getting the ball out pretty good. Actually, Andrace's best punt of the day was into the wind late in the game. He had like a 46-yarder that had a 4.2 hang time. And he had the Red Douglas or whatever, 87, had the fair catch.
Yeah, Red Douglas. Yeah.
But our coverage was great. On the very first punt that we punted, Hauser hit him right when he caught the punt. So our coverage was good. We got to kick the ball better and got to tie up some things on our punt return. We got the lead. We thought we had a chance maybe to block a punt, but we got the lead and we kind of pulled back on that. So probably, and it's probably my fault because the coaches on defense wanted to go after him, but we had such a good lead. I didn't want to rough the punter and give him another chance on offense, but we probably should have went after him.
Does Andrace have similar hang time that Dylan Grubbs had?
When he hits it, yes. And I know that says, wow, when he hits it. But when this guy really gets in a groove and doesn't hurry, like he hurried 2 punts on Saturday, and our time was great. There was no need to hurry.
That's what I was going to bring up.
There was no pressure. It was a good snap. We had good protection. When he doesn't hurry, he can really punt the ball. He's got a great leg. And he's really starting to kick field goals like he can kick field goals. I know they're just extra points, but, I mean, he's kicking the ball from the 10 and it's going 30 yards,
Well, when you say just extra points, look back over the weekend at the NFL. And some guys would like to have that
Yeah.
extra point.
Well, and they move him back a little bit in the NFL, but he's kicking from the 10-yard line, and he's, that's a 20-yard field goal.
Sure.
Is an extra point. And he's kicking it 25 yards in, back in behind the goalpost. So that's a 45-yard field goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he's ever since he missed that first extra point, he's done a really good job with extra points, and then obviously the field goal to win the game at Stroudsburg.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question here from one of our fans. How would you compare Mack to your 3 former transfer quarterbacks after, of course, he's only played 2 games?
Well, Lenny was a different breed in regards to when Lenny first got here, he was an athlete who had to learn how to play quarterback. By the time he was done, he was a quarterback that was a good athlete. But he did things with his feet. It was a totally different dynamic. Then Quentin came in, and he was more of a pocket drop-back passer, bigger, had the big arm, had pretty good touch. But he held the ball, he didn't hold the ball. His delivery took a little more time. But
okay.
I'll tell you, he was a great quarterback for us. I mean,
what
a year he had.
Great year.
What a year. And he made some unbelievable throws. And he was a lot more athletic than people gave him credit for. I mean, he really was. And he was great throwing the ball on the run. Then Harry was more of a guy that could make all the throws. He didn't dazzle you, but he threw the ball on time, and he was very accurate. Very accurate. Mack kind of has all 3 of those things.
Combined.
Like, take Lenny out of it. Mack has kind of all 3 of those things. He gets the ball out quick. He makes a throw early in the game on the second series on an in route to Dwayne Brown, and they're in a base zone coverage, and they got 2 linebackers underneath it, and they got a safety on top of it, and he throws that thing in between 6 hands. And there was probably a window like a window in your bedroom. That's what the window was, and he put it right there, and Dwayne caught it, and he threw it so good that when Dwayne caught it, he ran for 30 yards after he caught it because the throw was unbelievable. He threw 2 posts off a boot naked where the guy was in his face. He hit Ridley and Dwayne later in the game, and it's strictly he gets the ball out before they can get to him. You know the crazy thing about it is we've counted how many times he's been hit this year, knock on wood. He's been hit twice all year. Once against Stroudsburg, once against Shipp.
Only the 1 sack, right?
Right. That was the hit against Stroudsburg.
Yeah.
And he didn't get sacked. I'm talking about getting hit, not getting sacked.
Right.
He's given 1 sack. That was the hit against Stroudsburg. Against Shippensburg, they didn't sack him, and he only got hit 1 time.
Credit the O-line.
Absolutely. The O-line, our receivers getting open.
Your backs.
And the backs, and also him getting the ball out quick.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're getting some questions here. Well, here's one, too, as a follow-up. Has any player pleasantly surprised you so far?
Well, I think, a couple guys, the Parker Gregg, Cole Laney, they've come on and helped us. I'm talking about guys that haven't played a lot. Isaiah Hauser, offensively. Defensively, these guys haven't played a lot, but the 2 linebackers, Holmes and Sims, had a couple really good plays Saturday. Holmes and Sims. Sims is a freshman linebacker.
Well, he missed all of last year.
And he missed all last year with an injury. I would say on defense, those 2 guys probably more so than anybody because the other guys, you look at our starting lineup Saturday on defense. The front 4 all started last year. The linebacker, Kelly, started last year, and Biss played a lot. Okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then we had Darius Bruce, Jaheim Howard. Okay? The freshman corner is playing really good. He's our starting field corner.
Kalen Frazier.
So, we thought he had a chance to be pretty good, but you could tell he's a coach's son, and his dad was a great defensive
is that
back.
right?
Yeah, he just knows how to play the game for a true freshman. Mm-hmm. And, so those guys have surprised us because they haven't really ever played for us a whole lot, and now they're playing and doing some things. But like I said, when you look at it, we had 8 guys start Saturday that started last year on defense. So that's a pretty good group back.
I would say, yeah. That's why probably many of the fans maybe didn't realize, but in the first game, where it was disappointing from the standpoint of, well, all these guys are back. They have that year's experience in the secondary, and it was a bad day all the way around.
Right, and I think first game,
but I think
played a part in
you
it.
Described that last week of pretty much what happened.
Yeah, well, and they're pretty good, Stroudsburg, and they hit a couple plays on us, and first game, and probably the guy that holds the secondary together, Jaheim Howard, didn't play, and probably one of our better inside down guys, Greg Moore, didn't play.
Right.
They both played Saturday, both played really well. Kalen Frazier's out there starting as a true freshman in the first game, and he was playing high school football last year. So he got a game under his belt, and he even played better this week. And you talk about the other guys, all these other guys that started last year, that was their first year starting because they were freshmen. Fowler, Fazell, Biss, Bruce.
On and on, the whole group.
Chuck Ingram.
Well, I was going to
Randy
bring that
Washington.
Up. In fact, the question's a follow-up about the future about Chuck Ingram. Do you see him in the same position, or because there had been some talk?
Yeah,
I think you guys,
if he would get a little bigger, he would probably be a heck of a will linebacker in our defense. So we'll just see where it goes, from here. Right now, he's not, and he's still free safety. But Randy Washington played most of the game last week at free safety. Chuck had an interception, and he still played. But maybe down the road, if he gets a little bigger, he could probably be a heck of a will linebacker.
We're with Coach Paul Tortorella. It's Hawk Talk, coming to you live from the C.H. Fields Craft Kitchen at the Hilton Garden Inn. Thanks to the fans for giving us some questions here. I think you had described to me, somebody wanted to know about the injuries to Adam Hauser because he had a nice run. He likes to pick on his hometown team, Shippensburg, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But, so you're saying he tweaked his hamstring?
Yeah, I mean, he tweaked it on the touchdown run, and the next series, du jour was in there, and we got up 2 touchdowns, and we figured, we probably ought to just, hold them out the rest of the game. It wasn't a terrible pull at all. We're hoping he'll play this weekend.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Do you give team awards after every
offensively,
game?
Our player of the game on offense was Hilton Ridley. He had a heck of a game.
We haven't discussed him much, but we picked him also. The radio.
Heck of a game.
Yeah.
Boy, has he really come on. With Lockhart going down, he stepped in as the number 2 guy with Dwayne, and he's played. He played great in the second half against Stroudsburg. He played great Saturday. I mean, he had a great game Saturday. So I forget what you asked me now.
Well, I asked you about team awards.
Oh, yeah. Ridley offense.
Ridley. Defense.
Howard on defense.
Yeah.
Howard had 2 interceptions. The one got called back, and he had another one he had his hands on. He could have had 3 interceptions.
Oh, yeah.
The fourth down pass down in the red zone. He got a pass break up on it, but he actually could have intercepted it. So he would have had, 3. He had 2, but the one got called back because of interference on Darius Bruce. So he got it on defense, and then Isaiah Hauser got it on special teams. He had a solo tackle on the very first punt on the good punt return, and then he recovered a fumble, our own fumble, when Dwayne fumbled the punt there in the fourth quarter on like our 12-yard line. So he got the special teams award.
Yeah. Well, with Dwayne and Hilton both going over 100 yards receptions.
Right.
So that's and it's going to be great to get Q Carter back. I know he's
absolutely
he's chomping at the bit.
Absolutely.
He told me the other day, senior.
Right.
When you're a senior, you want to play.
He went out in warm-ups, and it just he's got that sprain, that ankle, and it killed him to not play. But he was on the sideline. I mean, he was encouraging guys. He was coaching guys up, and then he's doing a lot of coaching guys on special teams because he's our best special teams player.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I mean, he's our best special teams player, and he's our number 1 kick. I mean, I got to get – when a Quasi comes in, I got to bust his chops because we got a guy that's broke his record for all-time kick return yards.
Right, yeah. Yeah, Quasi, well, he'll be with the group going in the Hall of Fame this coming weekend. Well, we're going to be back in a moment. We're going to talk with Coach Larry Wilson coming along. We're going to talk more with Coach Tortorella, 4 o'clock kickoff. Don't forget, we'll be on the air at 3:30 on U92radio.com. And, of course, we hope that you'll all be there and we have a nice crowd. It looks like it's going to be a very comfortable football day, anywhere from the mid-60s to about 70. You know, I don't know how you take it, but I love football, but boy, when it's 85 degrees, and I can imagine on that field, too.
Yeah,
It was
and usually at Shippensburg it's windy, but it wasn't very windy.
No, it wasn't.
So it was hot. It was a hot day.
Yeah. All right, we're going to be back with you in just a moment, so stay with us. More Hawk Talk coming your way from the Hilton Garden Inn, coming your way on U92radio.com and Renda Digital TV.
Home is you. It says who you are. For that difference you want, you don't have.
Shop now for big savings. Visit Dow's of Plumville and Dow's of Greensburg.
Come and discover the Dow's difference. Doesn't your home deserve Dow's?
The Co-op store has the largest selection of IUP gifts and apparel. The Co-op is always there with its convenient location and hours. The Co-op store has been serving IUP and the Indiana community since 1933, and all profits are returned to the students through campus programs and activities. The Co-op has all your campus needs from the dorm to the classroom. Visit us online at www.iupstore.com.
Well, we're getting in position here. I think we're all in position. Welcome back to Hawk Talk. Jack Benedict, Coach Paul Tortorella, Coach Larry Wilson with us right here. Great to have you, Coach. Come along and a little bit of the background. I know the fans have read about your background and so on, and came over to us from Cal U, where you were there for, 17 years?
Yep, 17 seasons I was there.
17 seasons. Now, Coach Lockhart hired you, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, he gave me my first college job.
Well, you know, he always had high praise for a big guy, for Coach Frank Signetti. I know that Coach Lockhart did. And, you know, you talk about 2 Hall of Fame coaches.
Coach Lockhart always talked about the big guy because he kind of gave him the model for a Division II program to compete. And, you know, Coach Lockhart believed in it, stuck with it, and he really did a nice job building Cal's program the right way.
You have to be very familiar with the conference because you played at Slippery Rock, coached at Cal. You talk about the big 3 there with IUP, Cal, and Slippery Rock. And am I correct? You were a teammate of Todd Garzarelli?
I was. He was a little bit older, but we played a couple years together.
So this goes back quite a way with your association. I guess somebody would say, well, you know, you were successful at Cal, how the program came up, became a power, as well as IUP Slippery Rock. So why at a particular time did you come to IUP?
It really came down to the right fit, you know, being in the league forever and playing against the same teams over and over. And I really admired Coach Campolo's run game and his style of play. And, you know, I'm kind of settled in Irwin where I live. And, you know, if the opportunity ever came to get with Mike, I wanted to kind of seize that opportunity, you know, because I believe in balanced football. You got to be able to run it. You got to be able to throw for opportunity. So it took 17 years, but it ended up coming to fruition. And it's been great being here and putting it together.
Well, you and Coach Camp go back a long way, though, don't you?
Yeah, when we were younger coaches, we didn't like each other. And then maybe about 5-7 years in, we started to respect each other. And then we kind of became partners in football. You know, in the off season, we would discuss football, talk football. We had a lot of similar beliefs. And that's kind of how we ended up coming together and this opportunity working out.
So it's worked out for you, Coach Tort.
Hey, I've been wanting to hire this guy since I've been the head coach. And finally, it was the right time, you know, both ways for him and for us. And he's had a lot of success at Cal. His wideouts were always the best coast wideouts in the league, and he was very involved in their passing game. He just needed to take the reins and be a coordinator, and there was nobody else. I mean, like I said before, I've told other people, you wouldn't believe some of the people that called me for that job, the offensive coordinator job. I mean, there's some names that people would be like, you got to be kidding me. And basically I said, I got a guy, and it's up to him if he wants to take the job or not. And if he takes it, it's done. And, and the thing that people got to realize is, like with Larry, like calling plays and X's and O's and putting things together, that's all very important. But when you're the offensive coordinator, you got to be a leader, okay? You got to lead the offense. You got to lead the coaches, and he has Campy with them, and our other coaches are doing a great job on offense. But part of being a coordinator is not only calling plays and putting a game plan together and putting scripts together, and you got to be a leader of coaches and players. And this guy, like I said at halftime at Shippensburg, he was upset and he was kind of ranting and raving to the offense at halftime. And I got the whole team together and I said, I'm going to tell you right now, we got the right offensive coordinator, because he took the words right out of my mouth, what he was saying to the offense. And I, as the head coach, I'm a little harder on the defense, because I'm a defensive guy.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't really get after the offense a whole lot, because that's why Larry and Campy are over there. But I was ready to get after him at halftime, and I didn't have to say one word. He had beat me to the punch. I couldn't even get into the locker room, and I heard him screaming, and I wasn't even in the locker room yet.
No, we don't want people to get the wrong impression, but, you know, we get, in our jobs, we get fired up. And you've had the experience before offensive coordinator to work with all. I've looked at the list, and I remember these Cal receivers, and, I mean, there
was a lot of them.
There were, and special teams, too, right?
Yep.
So does that go back in your career the whole way?
It does. I think the thing that made me ready for an opportunity like this was kind of the people I was around at Cal. So, you know, I worked under Walt Harris. He was the offensive coordinator for a year with us.
Yeah.
Mike Jacobs Sr., who was at West Virginia and Ohio State, I worked with him for a year. Dwayne Painter, who was an NFL coach with Chuck Knoll, was a consultant for 5 or 6 years. So I always told people, it's like I've been at 6 or 7 different jobs, but I was at the same job, because Coach Lockhart was always bringing in good quality people. And fortunate, you know, young guys have an ego, as I did, but I always kept my mouth shut and listened, and it kind of helped prepare me for this opportunity years later.
Yeah, we can learn a lot by listening.
Well, I mean, the 3 guys he just talked about, I mean, Dwayne Painter, Mike Jacobs, and Walt Harris, like,
yeah,
I mean, that's as good as it gets to learn from for offensive football.
Now, you know, unfortunately, one of your highly touted recruits, Derek Lockhart, I mean, fortunate for us, he came here, and then he gets hurt that first game. And, you know, you just had to feel, and you too, I would think would be especially feeling that, the fact that you've kind of, you know, grown up with this guy in the last few years. That's a big loss, isn't it?
It was tough. In the moment, it was hard to keep composure. I know it was hard for him. It was hard for me. But, you know, I kind of told him when he settled down, like, you know, things happen for a reason. And I've been with him since he was a freshman walk-on at Cal, and he's growing as a man. He's close to getting his degree, but he never redshirted. And then he sat out the COVID year to work from home. So he's a little bit behind on credits, even though he's out of eligibility this fall. So I told him sometimes maybe it's a blessing, because it's about him getting his degree for me, first and foremost. And then when that settled in on him, you know, he was able to collect his composure and realize, like, hey, it's just a test. It's not a sign. It's a test. He's getting his knee fixed next week. You know, he's working on his academics, and he's going to work to get back here next fall.
Yeah, he told me he's going to, once to graduate in December, medical redshirt, come back next. Now, fortunately, Coach talked about some of these wideouts. Hilton Ridley has really come along. We know all about Dwayne Brown. He's been here forever, thank goodness, for you know, coming to IUP. And then you got some young guys too that are waiting in the wings. You like this group as a whole, I'm sure.
We do. You know, there's young guys. It's, you know, with Dwayne and Q, they're the older guys in the room.
I'm sorry, I left Q out.
Yeah, so they're the older guys in the room now, and you know, the younger guys, seems like we have a lot of sophomores, redshirt freshmen, and Coach Bryce is doing a nice job because he comes from a Division I background, and he's hearing different terminology from me, and he's doing a nice job of adjusting to our language and how we do things. And like I heard you guys talking about Hauser, he's coming along, starting to make plays for us. And there's some other kids, once they get their opportunities, they're getting better every day. So we're building the depth we need, and that's the challenge. With the way it is right now, everybody has depth issues. It's just the way football is. I mean, there's so many schools on top of each other in this whole region, so it's about developing your players. So the more we can develop these young guys and get them some game experience and get closer, as long as they're getting better, we feel like we're building our depth.
Just as you need chemistry with players, you need it with coaches. And you have a nice staff from the, you got Smitty and Campy, been with you forever. Mm-hmm. Larry comes along, somebody you're totally familiar with, and then you've got like Brett and Zach Johnson, so looks like a pretty good mix.
Oh, it's a great mix. I told the team today in the meeting, I said, we got 4 new coaches, and these coordinators and assistant coaches, two games into the season, have done a tremendous job. Because, I said we got 4 new coaches, and we've played 2 games. It's like the way we're operating right now, it's like they've been here for 4 years, and they've been here, 4 weeks in regards to camp and then playing games and whatever. But I think, all these guys really want to be here. The staff has great chemistry. I'm really pleased with our staff. I mean, I think they're doing a great job.
Larry, you had the great opportunity to talk with and coach with Noah Mitchell down at Cal U when he first came in, so he was under your tutelage. Now you have Mac Sexton. Mm-hmm. Give me your views. I don't want you to compare or that type of thing, but just the idea of that's 2 pretty good quarterbacks right there.
Yeah, my first impression when you ask that is they're both workers. They're both of those kids are kind of quiet assassins. They come to work early in the morning. They're constantly learning, wanting to be better, and that's the thing that impresses me about Mac. I didn't know Mac. I show up and meet Mac. I knew nothing about him. He knew nothing about me, and we just started talking football, and he's shaking his head, and we're drawing things up. So he's been very in tune with what we're trying to do. I think he really wants to be his best, and he shows up every day. He works hard. He leads the offense. He's doing a really nice job as a leader.
Well, he's the first quarterback in his first 2 starts to throw for over 300 yards in IUP history. That's a pretty good start in itself. And his father had the football background. You might want to know how that all ties in.
And he played big. He played a lot of high leverage situations at Pittsburgh State. But this is a whole new conference. This is a everything's new for him. Luckily, we had him in the spring. Larry had him in the spring, worked with him, really did a great job with him in the spring to start things off and lay the foundation. And, there hasn't been a learning curve here early in the year. I mean, this guy's first two games, he's played very, very well.
Yeah. So Larry, you've been, as we mentioned, to Slippery Rock, California, and IUP. Is there really a rivalry among these teams? What a stupid question.
There's no doubt. We all know that. There's that brotherly relationship between all 3. We're living in the world of if we're deserving that day, we want to outwork those groups, and that's the world we're going to continue to live in. But there's a sibling rivalry there, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it makes it fun.
Yeah, it's the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
Us, Slippery Rock, and Cal.
There you go. You got it right there. There's some teams waiting in the wings.
Well, and especially, you got Gannon, you got Edinburgh, you got some teams here. Mercyhurst has got a new stat. Like, a lot of teams have changed. Jake Nolf's second year at Edinburgh. Gannon's coach, I believe, second or third year. Mercyhurst has a new coach. The guy at Seton Hill has done a pretty good job turning them around. And then, like in the East, I keep telling people Strasburg's going to win some games. They're a pretty good team. People don't realize that, they didn't play very good in their opener. They just didn't play very good.
Well,
and they got behind.
They got behind early.
But they played us there was no fluke. we didn't play great, but there was, they had something to do with that, and they went on the road and just put it to Seton Hill on the road, and that's not an easy trip. And I think they're going to make some noise in the East. I mean, you probably have Shepherd at the top. Then I think they're trying to battle in there with Kutztown and Westchester, Stroudsburg, to
Sure. Yeah.
to try to get some things done that way. But I think there are some other teams. Like, I think the three teams in the West, and there's kind of like three teams in the East with Shepherd, Westchester, and Kutztown. The strength of those three teams on each has made the other teams better. It's not just one team and everybody else. There's three really high-level teams in both conferences, and I think the teams that are trying to get there now are getting better and better and better.
Finally, Coach, offensive line, Campy's guys, veteran offensive line. That had to be a pleasant surprise when you came in here and saw that.
To be honest with you, I didn't know they were veteran as we are, but it's the same old story year after year, whether he has veteran guys, younger guys, a mix of both. They play our style. They're physical. They want to be their very best. He preaches consistency, and they put it on tape week in and week out, year after year. And, it's nice to be able to lean on that, because that's what I believe in, a balanced attack. I think that's how you become the very best. If you're one-dimensional, it's really hard to be the very best. So we lean on that front, and we certainly like their style of play and how they operate and do things, that's for sure.
Coach, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it a lot. We'll look forward to your offenses coming Saturday afternoon, Hall of Fame weekend. That'll be a fun weekend, too. And finally, the IUP gets to play a home game. We've been on the road so much last year and this year, too. Thanks again.
Appreciate you.
Coach, we'll finish up here in a few minutes.
Okay,
we'll
great.
talk about Mercyhurst next
Great.
up. Coach Larry Wilson, great to have him with us. Coach Tortorella will be back in just a moment. Hawk Talk, we'll talk about the opponent for this week and anything else. Hawk Talk coming your way. We're on U92Radio.com and Renda Digital TV.
Field's Craft Kitchen in the Hilton Garden Inn is this area's best kept secret. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, dinner, happy hour, or for their post-game specials. Make your reservations for C.H. Field's Craft Kitchen in the Hilton Garden Inn at chfields.com. The Hilton Garden Inn is the preferred hotel of IUP Athletics. Located next to Miller Stadium and the KCAC, the Hilton Garden Inn is Indiana's newest and best hotel. Make your reservations today at hiltongardeninn.com.
The Christmas Tree Growers Association, and Diamond Drug and Diamond Medical Supply. And another round of applause for the Sue Hewitt Dance Studio, ladies and gentlemen. They did a great job. Let's show them our support.
Then what the other two guys had to come into. The first practice for Quentin.
Here's the snap. It's high. The kick is good! And they have won the game. And they burst onto the field, and pandemonium reigns out here at Andy Kosneski Field in double OT.
Okay, we're going to get... oh, jeez. I got a little wet there, guys. I'll get Redinger.
Waiting the shotgun snap from Succiarelli. Hands up.
For this week in Mercyhurst, we alluded to them a little bit, and they do have a new coach. So that's been the first time in, 20 years. Marty Schatzel was up there for 20 years. What do you see when you see this Mercyhurst team?
Well, they haven't changed much on defense. He was the former defensive coordinator. They elevated an assistant to the defensive coordinator, so I'm sure he's got his hands into the defense, because they're a 3-3 stack team, which is a little different. We don't see a lot of that. They've done this for years, so I don't see them changing much on defense. They're very aggressive, play hard, they're physical. A little bit like Ship in regards to really good on special teams. Offensively, they got a new offense in. They got new coaches on offense. It's Marty ran the offense, the head coach, so they're a little different. They're a one back shotgun zone run team, RPOs. They're not in the heavy sets like they used to be with Marty Schatzel. So they're a little different offensively. They had two good wins at the beginning of the year, and they were beating Kutztown at halftime, and then it just kind of got away from them in the second half. A couple turnovers, couple big plays by Kutztown. They blew a coverage, Mercyhurst. But it's 24-17 at halftime.
Yeah,
Mercyhurst is beating them.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like the way our Shepherd game went last year. The third quarter was kind of a disaster for them. I think they got outscored 21-0 in the third quarter. And then Kutztown took the game over. But and the quarterback got banged up a little bit. He's a senior. He's been in the program for a while. He's a taller guy. He's got pretty good athleticism.
This is Michael Lowry.
Mm-hmm. He ran and hurt him scrambling, and he threw a couple balls, deep balls down the field that hurt Kutztown early in the game. They've got a great tight end in the Armstrong kid. He's a fifth-year grad student, senior, sixth year.
6'6"
and
wide
they
out,
got a 6'6" wide out, number 2.
Barmore.
And they got some linemen back. They do have a decent nucleus of players back, especially on defense. They've got a lot of grad students, 5th, 6th-year guys. So, if you take their first 2.5 games, they're probably playing pretty good football. They just had a bad third quarter against Kutztown, and it ended up costing them the game. So they'll come in here. They'll one thing about Mercyhurst, they're not highly penalized. They're very disciplined. They usually don't turn the ball over a lot. They make you beat them, and we've had a lot of success with them in the second half of games. They've given us fits in the first half.
Well, that one game with, I think that was Coach Kurt Signetti's second year.
Yeah.
Up there coming from behind.
Right. And just, in even 2017, that team, we were undefeated going in there to play our last game before the PSAC championship. And I think we were up by a field goal at halftime. And it was a hotly contested game for the first half. And then in the second half, we took it over that year. And if you go back and look, the last 3 or 4 times we've played them, at halftime, it's a one-score game. Mm-hmm. And it's, pretty even game. And then we just happened to play really well in the second half and have taken the game over the last 3 or 4 years in the second half, especially defensively. We haven't given up a lot of points to them in the second half here in the last 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. It'll be a tough game.
Yeah. Well, there are no easy games, that's for sure. Hall of Fame weekend, and among those going in, Sean Coons, who was the center, back from 87 to 91 on the 90 team that went to the national championship. We alluded to Akwazi Owusu-Ansah, great defensive back, played, pro ball, Dallas Cowboys and so on. You said he's going to speak to the team before the game,
yes,
is that
he's
right?
coming in Friday, and he had gotten a hold of me a couple weeks ago and wanted to come and speak with the team. He wants to come by and visit with me Friday, and we'll have him at the team meeting Friday night to speak with the team. And we got the 93 national championship, the team that played the national championship, coming back, most of those guys. A lot of great guys on that team, not only great football players, but great guys that I've become really good friends with from that 93 team. So Jamone Smith and just a really great group. That team was probably the team that came closest to winning it all.
It was that close.
Yes, and I feel bad for them, but they were right there. They have probably more so than any team in the region. That 93 team was really one or two plays away from winning a national championship.
Well, I had the opportunity to speak with Jamone Smith today. He's in Texas.
Right.
He's going to be the spokesperson for the team,
right.
He said. And really looking forward,
right,
to coming back. And, of course, with, the passing of Coach Signetti,
right.
Just a lot of feelings.
Right.
Again, it's going to be a fun but emotional day.
Yeah, and the thing that people don't realize about that 93 team, they had to play North Alabama at North Alabama. It wasn't a neutral site.
It was a home game. Yeah.
It was an away game for IUP. And to go in there and possibly, or, having a great chance to knock off North Alabama on their home field in their home stadium, that was a feat, and they were just 1 or 2 plays away from doing it. And then obviously the 90 team, I believe they're going to get honored next year because they're the other national championship team. So there's a lot of tradition, and our kids know about it because, I've been here a long time. Coach Camp, Coach Smith, they played here and have been here a long time. John Patina's been here a long time. So we speak, a lot about the former players and the tradition in the program. And our kids, they love when former players. We had Sean McCaskill, senior, come and speak to the team during preseason camp, and he did an unbelievable job. We had Alan Wright come speak to the team at preseason camp.
Yeah.
We had Aaron Smith's father, who was, obviously, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He won Aaron Smith, the crazy thing, he won a national championship, he won a Super Bowl, and he played in the Pro Bowl. There aren't many guys that can say they won a national championship. He did it in Northern Colorado, Division II.
Northern Colorado, yeah.
He won the Super Bowl with the Steelers, and he also played in the Pro Bowl. There's not a lot of guys that can say that.
That's a pretty good resume.
Yeah, they played in the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl, won a national championship, and played in the Pro Bowl.
Wow.
And he did a tremendous job talking to our players. Now, he's not a former IUP guy, but he might as well be now with his son on the roster.
Yeah, he's got the tie-in now.
He's got the tie-in, and he's a Pittsburgh guy now. And so we're excited about, former players talking to the team throughout the year.
Well, there's nothing like tradition, and, you guys are keeping it up, and it's not an easy thing to do. It's like when you get better as a team and you get to be number one or in your region or your division or whatever,
right.
The tougher thing is to stay there.
Right.
Because everybody's after you.
And, we use that tradition in recruiting. When we recruit guys, we say, hey, here's what's been done here in the past. And there's nobody else that can say they've done everything but win a national championship. We can say that. And we use that in recruiting, and we end up getting guys strictly on tradition, really, to be honest with you at times.
Coach, when you take a look at 3 people in the College Football Hall of Fame from Division II, Chuck Clausen,
right,
and Coach Signetti and Jim Haslett, that speaks for itself.
I mean,
that's pretty good.
Does,
yeah, that's pretty good. Well, listen, we're coming down near the end. We want to thank Coach Larry Wilson for coming by, and Coach Tortorella. Each and every week we get a chance to do this Hawk Talk. You're invited to stop by or get questions to send them our way. The next 2 weeks we'll be home, one game at a time. Mercyhurst at 4 o'clock coming up on Saturday. The Hall of Fame luncheon will be a little bit earlier in the day, and it's going to be a big weekend. I know the Hilton has talked about many other organizations that have get-togethers this weekend, and it'll all come together. But looks like it'll be a fun time.
Yeah, we got to get back to playing better at home, and we got to start it this Saturday.
Yeah, this would be. That was one of the questions I didn't even get to.
Right.
Why we play so well on the road, but
right.
This would be the time to start.
Right.
This
exactly.
week. Yeah. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, Coach Tortorella, we want to thank Jake Slobodnik, who is our producer today, and we'll get John Smathers back after he takes a nice break. But we'll be back with you next week. Each and every Monday, we come your way at 6 o'clock live here from the Hilton Garden Inn, and our producer back at Renda Broadcast, Danielle Pisarcik. For the coach, this is Jack Benedict, bidding you a very pleasant good evening from the Hilton Garden Inn.
The Christmas Tree Growers Association, and Diamond Drug and Diamond Medical Supply. And another round of applause for the Sue Hewitt Dance Studio, ladies and gentlemen. They did a great job. Let's show them our support.
Then what the other 2 guys had to come into. The first practice for Quentin.
Here's the snap. It's high. The kick is good! And they have won the game. And they burst onto the field, and pandemonium reigns out here at Andy Kosneski Field in double OT.
Okay, we're going to get...
Doug,